All right, welcome everybody. If you have purchased the Thetapro indicator, thank you for your support. Going to be all working together to make sure that we do well on our trades. If you are still thinking about it, because I left this open to anybody, we'll be going over how the indicator works, how to set it up and look at different time frames and whatnot, and then I'll leave it open for any questions as you guys have them. Okay. So let me check the chat here. All right. Oh, Australia, lunchtime. Awesome. I was talking to the Gemini thing on what is it, the Google like AI thing, and I had to talk in an Australian accent just for fun. And it was interesting. All right. Let me share my screen real quick. So I already have the Thetapro indicator on here. Just wanted to quickly go over how to add it to your TradingView account if you haven't done so yet. So when you go to the Thetapro channel on the pinned comments, so go to pinned messages. Here's everything you need to set up. The guide is here, and this has the actual script to add the indicator in. This is the spreadsheet where I'll log all the trades that I do on it, and you can see the data for it. And then I did a YouTube video to describe how to actually put in the indicator. But just to quickly show you how to do that again, you click on here's the guide, and the guide pops up here. Make sure you read through the whole guide before taking any trades, just because I go over a lot of different things on time frames and what I'm looking for and where to enter a trade. So you have your code here. You're going to go on. So if I'm starting brand new on TradingView, because some of you guys are having trouble even finding like where to go.
It only works on TradingView.
As of now, yes. I think there's a possibility I could get it on Thinkorswim, but I haven't figured that out yet. Maybe in some point I will, because I think you could do PineScript on it. If anyone happens to be decent at technology and can figure that out, just send me a message and we could try to do that as well. But you could do TradingView for a free account. I don't have a paid account or anything. So anyway, if you go to tradingview.com, go to products, super charts, and then you're gonna see your chart come up like this. Currently I don't even have the TradingView on here. So I had some old ones from a while ago that I don't even use anymore. You want to go to the bottom where it says Pine Editor, and then click on this maximize panel, this little over here. Get rid of anything that's over there for now, like if there's nothing there. And then on the actual guide here, you're going to copy all this, go down to the bottom, copy all of it. And then I press Control C to copy. You could also right click copy. Then go back to your Pine script. Control V. No, that didn't work. You got to do Control V to paste it. And then like that. I got some more people coming in here. Once you do that, I would save it. And you can type whatever you want there. It could be Thetapro, it could be whatever you want. Throw, test, whatever. And then add to chart. It should come up. I'll just type in random ticker NVIDIA. And then it sees it comes up. Okay. So I'm going to leave it open for any questions at this point. Anyone having trouble adding on the indicator into your TradingView? Mic's open, or you can leave it in the chat.
It worked fine for me, Lance.
All right, sounds good. Anyone else having trouble logging it in? I had to help some people individually because they were not used to tradingview.com. All right. So if you have any questions on how to add it in, feel free to send me a message. Now, a few things that I look for in TradingView, and then I'm going to go through some of the possible trade ideas. So this is how I go about it. Honestly, I use my phone because I can't even use my computer at work. So what I do is I have my watch list, and on the Theta Pro indicator, I left my watch list. You go near the bottom right here. So you could I got more people waiting to enter here. Just give me a second. So if you have so if you have the watch list here, you could use the one that I use. I'm only on a free account, so I think it only lets you do about 30 or so. So I added a random Google Keep document for quite a bit more if you want to. You can just manually type them in if you want. But what's interesting and fun, I guess, on my phone, I could just scroll and just move like to each ticker and see like what might work or not. So once you get the hang of it, it's pretty quick to actually find, different things to at least get it to quick. Um, Now what a few general things that I look for is if I'm going to be doing and I did about a month, yeah, a little over a month of trades using this before we even released it. So if you are in Inner Circle, you're already aware of some of this. For weekly trades, I'm going to look to sell them sometime tomorrow when I actually have a spare second to actually breathe. I'll actually be entering these in. We're getting a lot of people here. All right, so um, I'm going to be looking at the 2 hour chart or possibly the 4 hour chart. If it's a Monday trade going out to Friday, either of those candles should be adequate. So I want to check your mic there. That's a mute you if you're have background noise. All right. Thanks, guys. All right. So I look at the 2 hour and the 4 hour chart. Apple was one that looks good in most of the things that I look for. So on the 2 hour chart here, you could see how a sell call indicator came up. And the reason why it came up is we're between the blue Bollinger Bands where RSI, and if you wanted to look at it, RSI is going to be near the 100 level. So if I scroll down a bit, you're going to see the RSI level here. RSI is relatively flat right now, near 50 or so, but it did have a slight, let me zoom in more. It had a slight downturn right here. So that's an indication that it might be starting to get near oversold conditions. And because of that, with the EMAs, it showed the sell call indicator. So what I look for is the recent highs and the recent lows. Let me see why the recent high isn't coming up. The recent low is down here. I think you can visually see the recent high was up here. Yeah. So the red line is the recent high in a certain amount of candles. When you go on your Theta Pro, you could change the settings if you want on this. So you could type in under look back period. You could change it. I did it 20 as the default. You can make it 40 if you want to go a little bit further back. Fiddle around the different, things here. So if I go down to 40, we still had near the recent high there. I think, yeah, it looks like it's still the recent high. If I go really far out though, it's going to make the bar over here. So at this point, I'm going to look at where the recent high is. It says sell call, and I'm going to look to sell a call credit spread above where this line is because we are having a downtrend right now. So the red bar is around 229 or so. Ideally, we could sell above it like around 230, possibly 232.5 or even 235. So I want to go pretty far away from this as long as it's getting what I call a decent return is if you're doing a 2.5 lift spread, you would want to get around 10 bucks or more off it. Because if you're taking in $10 on a 2.5 width, you're looking at 4% on a week for a trade. And to me, I think that's a good return. To you, it may or may not be, but I'm looking for relatively safe trades that will be a decent enough profit to make it worth it. Does that all make sense so far? You can unmute your mic if you have any questions on that.
Yeah, it does. Can you take a look at Tesla?
Sure. And we can have some time to look at different tickers if you like. Tesla's been moving a lot. I mean, it had a recent high last week, gapped up, and then it's starting to consolidate down. In the last day or two, it's consolidating. We saw the sell put alert come up near the morning on Friday because we had a slight update at open there, and then it consolidated around there. We're really close to the EMAs. If you're gonna sell a put, the recent low, this was around 40 candles ago, was around 237 or so, and we're at 320. So that was before the election, though. And obviously, when the election happened, it brought the stock price up a lot. There's a lot of volatility, which means that you could probably go really far out of the money to make a decent amount off it. I think selling
Lance,
it would probably be okay. I would go really far out of the money compared to
Lance,
the
I looked at 305 with a 20 spread, and it was like 362, I think, premium, pretty decent.
three $3.62.
Yeah, I think
And what was
that
your
went
strike?
305 and a 20 spread, which was 285, I think.
Okay. Yeah, pretty good whiff. Which is fine. Yeah, if you have an account to actually do bigger whiffs and you want to get a good credit, that's perfectly fine.
Okay,
I'm gonna be looking for 2.5 or 5 whiff spreads on most of these.
okay.
And the market's closed right now, so it's hard to know the exact premiums, but I would look around 270, 265 for the sold put, and then make it a 2.5 or 5 whiff below it.
You ever iron condor these?
I occasionally will, but in this particular, that's a good question. If you look at the spreadsheet, there were times where I did one, I usually start with one leg, like I'll start put or call credit spread. If it starts to get close to being challenged, but not really at the strike yet, I might sell the other direction because it doesn't use up any more buying power. And you might get eke out a little bit more return. I don't do that very much though. Um, I think it's when I put the data in, I think a couple of these would say I didn't need any buying power because I took the other leg. I'll have to look where it is because I have so many trades on. Yeah, you could do that. So if we have sell put, and let's say you sell 275, 270, something like that, and then let's say the market drops a bit, and then we get the sell call indicator pop up. You could keep the sell put if it's still relatively safe, like it's not touching the short strike, and then you could sell the call credit spread at that point. So it doesn't use up any buying power, and then you have both legs on. It's a consideration. I won't always do it, but this definitely could be advantageous at times. It's a good question.
Lance, could you use Delta to pick the strike price, or
Yeah, I mean,
just
I still look at the delta when I'm actually making the trade anyway. So
okay?
my general trades is I look around 0.08 to around 0.15 delta on the short caller put.
Okay,
You could look into higher deltas if you're willing to take the risk for it. So obviously, if it's a higher delta, you're closer to in the money, which means that you'll take in more premium, but then you're closer to getting into the strike prices. So
right.
be riskier. So that's my personal preference around 0.08 to 0.15 delta. But yeah, definitely fiddle around with your risk tolerance if you're willing to take higher deltas and possibly make more returns from it. Good
Thank you.
questions. Any other questions so far from the group? Only a couple other things I wanted to mention about it anyway.
And this is something you've designed?
Yeah, I have designed making the actual parameters to actually make the indicator. I'm not much of a computer programmer, so I had someone actually help develop it when I told them exactly what I wanted from it. And then we had some little tweaks from it as well. Any other general questions?
Well, I can say it's been very successful this last week. I made about 1,400 and some dollars already.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
I'm a happy camper.
Nice.
Yeah, I started doing these trades on October 4th, and I was pushing it a bit. more than I normally do because I'm a relatively conservative trader. Like if I see a 3x loss, I usually just take the loss. So if you take in say $50 and the actual option's at 150, I usually just close it out. But here I wasn't doing that. I was purposely letting them go a bit longer just to see if it would work out. And that's another point I was going to mention. So if you look at the Thetapro spreadsheet, let's go over what parameters I'm going to look for. Obviously, you guys do what you want. You don't have to take my trades. You can make them riskier. You can make them safer by closing them out early. And definitely share your trades too. So you get a good community of other people's ideas. But I'm going to be doing this with a $3,000 Robinhood account. I was testing this out with Robinhood compared to Thinkorswim and tastytrade, and about a third of these trades, I purposely did the exact same trade in all three brokerages, and I noticed almost 90% of all these trades, the fills were exactly the same. So I didn't notice any data showing that Robinhood gives you worse fills than Tasty Trade and whatnot. So I'm going to use Robinhood for these mostly because if you're doing a one whiff spread and you're selling two legs, you're losing $2 there in commissions off Tasty Trade. And Thinkorswim, you're losing 65 cents times two, you're losing $1.30. So that actually makes a pretty big difference. Like if you're only taking, say, $8 on a one whiff spread, and you have to pay over $1 in commissions, that could add up. So I haven't noticed any data showing Robinhood's worse, so that's why I'm going to use Robinhood for these. And you can use whatever brokers you like, obviously. I'm not going to use any more than 75% of my account. So I'm going to when I'm first starting out, it's going to be at 2250. I'll leave the other 750 in just cash, just in case I need to, roll or manage any of these. We'll look at 3 to 7 or so positions a week, depending on how much time I have available. I don't want any one position to lose more than 5% of my account. So 5% of 3,000 is $150. There is a little bit of wiggle room in that number because I might roll a few if I need to. So let's say I sold credit spread like 5 contracts and it's showing a current loss of $150. I might close out 2 or 3 of them and leave the others to roll possibly. I never had to get to that situation yet, so we'll see how that goes. Just general sizing. If I do a one with, I'm going to do up to 7 contracts of it. That'll be $700 in buying power. If it's a 2.5 whiff, times that by 3, you're at about 750. And if I do a 5 whiff, I'll do up to 3. That'll be like $1,500. So I don't want to necessarily max that past that unless the account grows. Obviously, those numbers will change. Most of my trades will start on Monday. They'll expire on Friday. So I wrote 0 to 10 DTE. I was really tweaking and really pushing this thing when I was testing this out. Like some of my
Oh, they do
data
it.
was I was doing trades on like a
Blur background.
Wednesday to Friday. And
It's blur background.
check your, check your mic, please, Alan.
Why?
You have your video off.
I'll turn it on?
No,
Okay.
no.
Sorry, I have to mute. So some of these, I would literally just take a trade like here. I sold it on the 8th for a 10th expiration. That's only a 2 DTE. I'm not going to have much time to do a lot of those. So I'm usually going to be doing the Monday to Friday expirations and then just see what happens. Obviously, if I have more time, I'll try to do a couple in the middle of the week. But remember, I'm teaching over 110 chemistry kids during the day, and I get questions from members all the time. So just bear with me.
Hey, Lance,
Yes.
do you normally let them try to expire at 100%, or do you try to take profit at 80%?
I'm almost
Yeah.
always letting them expire at 100% so far.
Okay.
There was a couple, if you look at the spreadsheet, about maybe like 3 or 4 total, where it got really close to the sold put. So I think there was one on Amazon. I just closed it out at break even because I couldn't watch it anymore. There was only like 2 hours left, and I was trying to teach.
Yeah, I
So
like to let them expire
usually,
too.
yeah, I was usually gonna go for 100%.
Good.
Alan, you have a question?
Yes. My question is, when you see like a bunch of like it says sell put, sell call, that means to but you really can't sell calls. So that means to sell call credit spread and sell put credit spread.
Yeah, so it could be a call credit spread or put credit spread. Or you could just sell the call and sell the put if you have a large account and you're willing to, just sell a cash secured or naked put. There's perfectly fine. I just wrote a very generic word there.
Okay, so that's just for ease. That's just for ease of programming basically. So not
Yeah.
so much to read at. So basically, sell call means sell call credit spread. Sell put means sell put credit spread.
Yeah, that's how I'm going to use it for this indicator, but you could easily do lots of strategies with it. You could do, broken wing butterflies. You could do 1-1-2 trades. There's a lot you could do. I'm just keeping it as a very simple,
Right.
just
Yeah.
word.
I just
But,
want like right now, I would just want to keep it as simple as possible and expand thereafter.
yeah, and that's how I'm going to be using this too as well. So we might have some beginner / intermediate option traders that just joined here. So I'm going to keep it
Right.
super simple at first, and then as you guys get more comfortable, I might try a little bit more trickier stuff, but I'm not going to go too crazy on that. We already have
Right.
quite a few members that are doing pretty advanced stuff too. On
Right.
like we have people scalping in like the 3-minute chart and stuff, which
Oh
is
wow. And the shorter time frames, based on this other stuff that Russell's done, any
yeah.
most indicators don't seem to be as accurate on the shorter time frames. Is this one a little bit more accurate?
It's hard to say. We don't have a ton of data on that. I mean, the few trades that I did for selling a call or put credit spread that were like 1 or 2 DTE all worked out, but it's a
Right.
very small sample size, so I'm not going to necessarily say like that's great or not. You really
Right.
need a lot of trades to actually say something like that.
With the smaller time frames, you probably get a lot more, giving false signals and things of that
Yeah,
nature.
I think you probably will get more signals if you're on a shorter time frame because if you get close to those EMAs, it's going to flip it. I think that's
Right.
true in most situations. I'm not going to say everyone, but I think that's probably right.
Right. And if you see a sell call or sell put, um, are there any things that sometimes you wouldn't take just because it says sell put or sell call that may want you to skip that trade because because of the RSI or any other factors that you
Yeah,
make in your decision making?
yeah. I don't know if you happen to seen the video that I left this morning. It's on the chat um on Zoom right now, but I was showing a lot of different random trades. I just went through my watch list to see what comes up with the indicator, and then on a few of them, I would say this one is probably okay. This one I probably wouldn't take, and I gave reasons why. So as you use it more and more, you might start to like see that based on your own risk tolerance and whatnot. I'm
Right.
gonna leave that again on the chat of Zoom if you want to
And
watch
say
it.
I did see that today. But it was a little bit fast. So I was trying to like gather like why it's so good, okay, or why it's not okay because you were going through your watch list pretty quickly,
Yeah,
like
that's just
boom
how
boom
my
boom.
that's just how my brain works, I mean,
Right.
I'm pretty quick on stuff. But um yeah, I mean, a few things like when you look at the indicator, the actual strategy guide, I give a lot of examples on what I look for and why I take a trade or why I might not take a trade.
Right.
Obviously, I'm limited to my buying power too, so once you use up all your funds, I'm going to be waiting out and to see if they expire or not.
Right now, would there be a certain things where it reached a certain point where you would, where it went against you, instead of just holding it to the end of the week, you would just get rid of it?
There's a chance I do that. Um, there was, I think, 1 or 2 that I actually did do that with. Um, on the spreadsheet dashboard, there's only 2 losses that I had, and I forgot exactly. I think Apple was one of them, where it just went against me really hard, and I didn't want to roll it and manage it, so I just took the loss.
Right.
But I
Now,
didn't
are
take the
there,
max loss. It wasn't a max loss either.
right. Now,
Uh,
for this type of trading system, do you like look for stocks with very high beta and very volatile, or do you look for stocks that more trade within ranges and channels and things of that nature?
It's the typical. stocks that I typically trade. So if you look at the watch list, it's a lot of the tech sectors. There's a few that are a little bit more or less implied volatility, like Walmart or Procter Gamble, stuff like that. But in
Right.
general, they're the very large mega caps that I usually do. I'll occasionally do stuff on like Carvana or, middle-ish cap stocks. I did one on Dick's Sporting Goods. I did one on Visa. So
Right.
in
Right. So like
general, they're bigger cap stocks, but not always.
right, so things like Visa and things like that are very expensive stocks. So you really can't. It's very hard to take. If your account counts a certain position to buy, only sell a put because then you're tying up a lot of capital for a week.
Yeah, but these are usually credit spreads, so those are
Right. I'm
defined.
saying if you did it as credit spreads, you could do it. But if you just did it directionally, you're selling a put, then you're tying up, for 400. You're tying up like
Yeah,
$40,000.
yeah, you're right. Um, so that's based on your account size and what you're willing to
Right.
handle if you want to do them like non-naked or
Right. So
not.
like those larger stocks, I would probably do, put credit spreads or call credit spreads.
Right. So yeah, based on what I'm going to be trading, I'm going to use those 1, 2.5, or 5 with for the credit spreads. But definitely send me messages if you have a larger account if you want to just go undefined risk and sell naked on them. So it could still work, especially in smaller. If you're looking at a like $100 to $150 stock, like selling naked could be worth it for, relatively decent account sizes. Like if you had
Right.
50 grand, like sure, sell a naked put instead of a put credit spread on like $100 stock or so. But if you're looking at a $400 or $500 stock, you're gonna need a large account for that.
Now, do some of those $400 or $500 stocks, do they have like offsets of those stocks that are, like a leverage that might be lesser value, or are they a lot less liquid in the options?
You have to look at an example of that. I don't know off the top of my head. I know Lockheed Martin's pretty high stock price, and it's not very liquid. It depends. I don't mess with stuff that's like 10,000 and like 5,000 share price. You know.
Right. But like a stock that's like $400, there's not like two-time leverage or short that might trade like $50 or $60 or something like that for some of these larger stocks.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, if you sell a naked put on Tasty Trade, say you sell 100 strike put, it's might only need about 3, 4 thousand an actual margin. That's not cash secured, that's on margin. So
That's a
that's another
margin, yeah.
double-edged sword. So, but those are
That
more specific questions I would say based on, people's account sizes.
sounds right. I understand.
All right, good questions though. Let me leave it open for others because we have a lot of people here. Feel
Okay.
free to raise your hand or leave a question in the chat if there are no others that could get more of Alan's.
Oh, just one question. I raised my hand.
If you could raise your hand, that might help. We have a lot of people. I'm not used to this whole raising hand stuff.
Lower hand. Yeah.
Or just speak out, I guess. I don't know. I'm not used to having this many members on Zoom at once. Any questions about Theta Pro indicator?
Lance, you use Robinhood because it's commission free.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the trade fulfilling pretty good and not a lot of slippage?
Yeah, I haven't seen any. I don't know if you just joined after I mentioned it, but
I'm sorry.
I was trying the exact same trades on Tasty Trade, Robinhood, and Thinkorswim, and I was getting almost the exact same fill every single time. There was only one or maybe two total trades where it actually was like $1 less on Robinhood than Tasty Trade. So that pretty much was the same when you factor in no commissions. But every other trade I've ever did, it was the exact same. So you can save quite a bit in commissions, especially if you're doing a large amount of contracts. I'm looking at 1, 2.5, or 5 whip spreads. So you're going to do a decent amount of volume of contracts with that. The commissions add up as a percentage of your total that you're taking in.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like for the 54, 58 trades, if you're trying to scale that up, you're going to have to save on commissions.
Yeah, it definitely was a factor. That's why I'm using Robinhood. It wouldn't necessarily, like, you could use any one of them. Like, I was doing the same trades as in Tasty Trade, Thinkorswim. Melinda's asking, second cheapest broker to use? I'm not sure what Australia has. Do you have IBKR, Interactive Brokers? Might be the only one that I'm aware of. I'm not sure if there's other brokerages over there that would work. It's always hard to hear these questions about from different countries about what brokerage to use because I'm not really sure what's available. It's probably Interactive Brokers. I don't actually use them, but they're a decent enough brokerage and the commissions aren't too bad. I don't know the exact number at the top of my head. All right, floor is open for questions. You raise your hand or speak up. If you want, you could just blurt out random tickers or timeframes, and I could just show you what it looks like and what my thoughts are.
I have a question, Lance.
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
On the future trade that you sent out this evening, uh, being only a member here a week, I'm probably going to have to learn your code system, I guess. What was your reference to $1,000? I didn't understand that.
Okay, so when you're doing futures trades, you're going to be using a certain amount of buying power or margin when you take the trade. Just like
Yes.
when you're doing it with stocks, if you sell 100 put on a stock, you're not going to need 100 times $110,000. That would be fully cash secured. But if you're on margin, it might only need 3, 4,000, right?
Mhm.
So futures work with span margin, and span margin has different margin requirements based on the amount of risk that you have in the account. So in general, the amount of initial buying power or margin you need to take the trade, you want to at least double that. So if it says $500 of margin or buying power needed, you want to leave another $500 in cash and not trade with that at all.
Okay.
So
Now I understand.
yeah, so the reason in all these trades that I put, I'll say use this much total amount of money for that trade. So if you had, say, $20,000 and you wanted to figure out how much to use in each trade, I can say use 1,000 for this one, use 1,500 for this one, and so on. So yeah, we'll talk more one-on-one about that so we could get a
Okay.
little bit more fine-tuned on it. But that's how I think about it. Instead of just saying margin use 500. I'd rather think with my mindset like I need $1,000 to take the trade.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. I'm seeing some in the chat here. IB, Tasty Trade, Schwab in Australia. Interesting. So, Melinda, I use Tasty Trade and I use Schwab. I have a Tasty Trade regular brokerage account. I would assume the commissions are the same in different countries. I guess it's perfectly fine to take them in Tasty Trade. Schwab is also, or Thinkorswim I have as well. I have my Roth IRA there and a regular brokerage. So I'm not sure if the commissions are the same or not, but here in the US, it's 65 cents a leg in Schwab. So if you sell a credit spread, it's 65 times 2 or $1.30. That's to open it. If you close the trade too, you're going to be doing times 2. So $2.60 to open and close a spread. On Tasty Trade, they charge $1 per leg to open it and nothing to close it. So it ends up being $2 for opening the spread, 0 to close it. So based on Thetapro indicator, there's going to be a decent amount of trades I'm not going to close. I'm just going to let them expire worthless. So in that case, Schwab would make more sense than Tasty Trade just because you don't have to pay to close the legs. It gets a little bit more complicated. If an individual leg is 0.05 or less, Schwab doesn't charge commissions on that to close it. So I don't want to get too like minutiae on this stuff. I think it ends up being pretty close from all of those, to be honest. Schwab might be slightly cheaper the way that I'm trading on the indicator though. Yeah, if you trade often, Schwab will negotiate commissions. That's true. I got Thinkorswim to go down to 50 cents per leg for me, then 65 cents. This was before the merger with Schwab. I hear that they're a little tougher now, and you have to do a decent amount of volume of trades and do that pretty frequently. And then ask to lower your commissions. If they don't, then you bug them again and then threaten to leave, and maybe they'll listen to you. But now that they're Schwab and they're talking to their stockholders, they may not necessarily want to do that. Schwab's interface easier to use. So yeah, they're both okay. Once you get the hang of it, they're all about the same.
We may have to look at Robinhood because I got almost $10,000 worth of commissions this
Yeah,
year.
it adds up.
Yeah.
If you want to test out my Thetapro with a small account, just open I opened a $3,000 account in Robinhood because I was very curious. Like a lot of people are using it. So I'm like, all right, let me try this out finally. And I'm happy with the brokerage. Like if the user interface is good, it's very quick to enter trades. The customer service is almost non-existent, but I didn't need that, at least yet. So, oh, Robinhood did close out one of my credit spreads when it was really close that I tried out. I forgot, I think it was AMD or something like I sold, I don't remember the numbers. It was like I sold a 110, 105 or something. It got to like 110.4 on Friday afternoon, and Robinhood just closed it out for me. Like luckily it wasn't, I think it was a slight winner. But they,
tastytrade did that recently to me,
yeah,
but that's the only one they've ever done for me. But they always send a note to you, say, "Hey, you got a you know trade getting close to expiration, and
yeah,
you can tell us you're watching it, or if we get a certain limit, we're going to close it for you." I think you probably saw that when that happened to me.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
they do that. If you could be very active and watch on like that Friday afternoon, it can be a little nerve-wracking at times, especially if it's super close. So,
right, right.
Alan, you got your hand up, you could ask.
Yes, can you look at PayPal on various time frames? You know how it looks in the charts?
Yeah.
Hey, Lance, while you're looking at that, I see in the chat someone's asking how many contracts did I
Oh, okay. You want to answer that?
sell when I made the 1,400 some dollars. Actually, I traded Tesla. I had one contract, made $383. It was both of these were 2-day DTEs, and then the other one was Apple, and I had 5 contracts, and I made $743 on that trade.
All right, thanks, Don. All right, Alan, here's the PayPal, the 2 hour chart. It's been rising pretty heavily. We've been on sell put for a while. So obviously if you sold a put anywhere over here, you could have sold down here and it would have worked out. It's starting to consolidate. We're near the EMAs and we're near the lower Bollinger Band. So it might flip if we happen to get a few down days. I'll look at a few other time frames. Like 4 hour chart. Looking very similar. Sell put. Didn't get to sell call yet. The day it's gonna show the same thing because you could see the trend was up.
What about like a 5 minute time frame?
Yeah, when you get to really small time frames, you might see more. See, yeah, because if it's hugging the EMAs, you're gonna be seeing momentum switch in the very short term. So this is
So
just
like
the last
so like
few.
if you got in, you see where it says sell put, like like the test area and sell call. Like how would you if you ended up doing one of those trades, like how would you handle that?
On a 5 minute time frame.
You see where it says between the 10 and 11 o'clock? If you were day trading, for example,
I don't do that, by the way, because I'm
right?
teaching 110 kids during the
Yeah,
day.
you don't do that exactly. But you said different people did it at different, shorter time frames. So I was just asking if it could be day traded.
Yeah, I mean, people are doing it and they are people talking about it on the channel. So you probably should want to send them a message on that because that's a bit risky in my view. Like,
I
I
agree.
think it's already risky enough going on a 2 hour chart and selling for a week. I did SPX on Friday off a 15-minute time frame, and I got out like right away because it was a good return, but you know, the indicator didn't flip at the time, so that's why I just got out of it.
So generally speaking, the shortest time frame you use is like a 15 minute.
Yeah, and I'm only gonna do that very rarely, like if I'm looking at a 0 DTE off SPX, for instance.
Right.
But it is
Got it.
possible to use on smaller time frames. You got to be really on your toes though, because it could flip really quick.
Right now, one other question is, you said like one of the other indicators I think you mentioned was like an anchored VWAP or something you use in your
Yeah,
analysis.
there's a few there's a few other indicators that let's see, I have a bunch here saved. Um
When you set up your charts with this, it's like the Bollinger Band, I guess a couple EMAs and a RSI and a VWAP or something.
that's pretty much that's mostly of what it is. I can't say exactly what's in it yet, but yes, you're in the right idea.
Okay.
Um I might have a
I,
different login.
I use the MACD and the Squeeze Pro and the RSI in conjunction with the Trader Pro.
Right.
I have two trading views by mistake. I don't know if I was on the other one or not. Let me see. Because they have different indicators on it. Yeah, all right. One of a few of these are the ones I have saved. I don't use all these. Anchored VWAP click is one that you could add with it. And this is
Yeah.
all a little bit more advanced and not absolutely needed, by the way. So anchored VWAP one where you click on a high and a low. Again, I usually don't do this small time frame, but just to show you how it works. You could click on a recent high, and then this darker blue line shows where the average weighted volume weighted average price is at the time. And then you could also just unclick, click again, and then you can move it to a recent low, for instance. All right, I gotta drag it, I think. It's been a while since I've even used it, to be honest. But yeah, you could change like where the high and the low is on that.
I just use the VWAP that comes like standard in Thinkorswim or TradeStation, and it
Yeah,
basically gives a VWAP and then two standard deviations above or below the VWAP.
yeah.
As I guess that's based off the open.
Yeah, that's a very common one. I use volume profile as well sometimes, so I got to get rid of VWAP here. Volume profile will show from KV Coin. It's just a free one. It'll show where the volume is at different prices.
Right.
I don't know why it's not coming up, but it's probably because it's such a short time frame. You go in there a day or whatever. Yeah, you gotta fiddle around with it, but it'll show like right here. We've had a lot of volume on PayPal in the daily chart, at least around 78 or so. And right now we're higher than that, where there's not much volume from here down to 78. So if we do see some down days, there's a possibility it could head towards this large volume gap, and then it might just consolidate at that point. So like I will use a few other indicators like that, but that's more of a one-on-one question to
Right.
see like what to do on it. But yeah,
So
to be honest, I don't really
are
use
any of those
many.
analyses based into your sell puts or sell calls, or those other indicators have nothing to do with the sell call and sell put?
No, I'm just adding on in addition to this. Like these are just a second indicator that I
Okay,
got
so
from.
those are just second indicators that have nothing to do with the buy or sell signals.
Right. Yeah, I'm just looking at other things with it just to see
Oh,
how
I
it
got you. I
like
got
you
you.
could because on just a free trading view, you could get up to three indicators on here. Like you
Right.
get rid of the volume, and then you could add on two more just on the free account. And if you have a paid account, you could add even more. So you could get a bit crazy with all that stuff, adding like 50 million indicators, and then you could make your head spin and not want to do anything. So just be aware of it. Like too many cooks spoil the broth.
Because like I find when I try to add too many indicators and look at too many things, it like shrinks up the chart and it just it confuses it more, makes it more complicated than it needs to be. Because one
Right.
indicator may say yes, someone else says something else says no, and you end up just sitting on your hands and doing nothing.
Right. Bill was asking, I've yet to trade credit spreads. I've only bought calls and puts. How big is the learning curve? It's not that hard at all. If you know how to buy a call, it's pretty much the opposite. You sell a call. and then you just add another leg to it and you put some protection, you buy a call a little bit above it. Where's the best place to learn? That's why I'm here. I'm a teacher. I know to explain this stuff well. If you're a brand new beginner and you're thinking about this indicator, I'll get you straight set on it. It's really not that hard. You do need a margin account to be able to sell credit spreads though. All right.
Can you
Open
sell,
for questions.
can you sell credit spreads in with a limited margin account, such as an IRA?
On Tasty Trade, they let you. That's
I have Thinkorswim. Yeah,
Thinkorswim. They're very tough about it. Unless you have a very large account, they might let you. Like if you have a six-figure IRA, they might let you, but they're definitely tougher about it than they used to be. And
right,
Tasty Trade is the most loose of any that I've seen. They'll let you do that stuff with IRA or Roth IRA.
right.
You could do futures and sell like naked puts on a Roth, which I think is nuts, but Tasty Trade will let you do it.
Right, because right now I just have TradeStation with just regular money, and then also with my IRA.
Yeah.
Fidelity also lets you do it as well.
Which one?
Fidelity.
Yeah, I hear Fidelity is the toughest of all of them to actually let you do it. I think there was a trader that has a pretty large account trying to get approved for futures, and they had him go through like a 2 hour like talk.
Fidelity doesn't do futures. That's the only drawback for them.
Oh,
That's the reason I do Tasty Trade is to
yeah,
do the futures.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Tasty Trade, I opened up with I think a $4,000 or $5,000 account, and they gave me approval to do everything. I could sell naked puts on futures, like it's no big deal. It's a double-edged sword. You got to be very careful with that stuff. Like it's good that it's using so little margin on trades. So that's the good part of the sword. But then the other side of the sword is another edge because you could easily get really hurt by that.
I opened mine with $500,
Yeah,
Wow.
but then I added to it up to 10,000 to so I
that's
could start
crazy on a
trading.
500 off. I thought you would
Yeah,
need at least 2,000 for just margin, but
yeah. I don't know. I'm surprised.
those of you that are looking to open up brokerages, you want to say your experience with options, you're looking for growth, and you've done this for many years, and they will almost all approve you to do credit spreads at least. So that's why I did Robinhood. They asked me a few simple questions. I just answered like I know what I'm talking about, and they approved me to do credit spreads. This is all I need. I don't need to do naked calls, and I wouldn't recommend that anyway because it could be really dangerous. But
I got caught with Tasty Trade. I'm a day trader now with them, so
yeah,
so I had to put
you have
more
the
money in.
better day trader rule on you.
Yeah, I ended up doing 4 day trades. Just didn't think about it, and I did it once and got caught. And you have a one-time, get out of jail card,
Yeah,
and I used it. And then it
yeah.
happened to me again about a month later, and so I had to go put more money in it. So
You stay above
25,
25,000.
25,000. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you'll be okay. It's a silly rule to be honest, but that's what
I
the
think
SEC
so. But
wants. All right, still open for questions. I got about another 10, 15 more minutes in me. So ask questions as you guys have them.
Can you look at Cava? It popped bigger than it fell all week. CAVA.
Yeah, I ate there recently in New
Yeah,
York
is it
City. It
good?
was actually good. I never had it before. And I was like, this stock might be good. I don't know. Long term, I was thinking not trade.
It popped and then it fell all week, basically.
Yeah, the top fell off as you could see. They had earnings recently, I remember.
Yes.
I think I sold a naked put before earnings off another guy's channel. And it worked out, it just expired worthless. But then yeah, it just
So, like,
dropped.
how would you handle that situation where you have a sell call and sell put so close to one another on the daily?
Most of the time, I wouldn't necessarily take it unless I see a few days of actual trends moving. Like if I see self put literally pop up that day I'm usually hesitant to take that. I like to see at least a few candles afterwards or it didn't
Right.
slip.
So if you saw that sell call, you wouldn't rush to do a call credit spread. You wait and see what happened a couple days and see if the sell put.
I wouldn't have touched it personally because it has earnings right here. And
Right,
because of that, I'm not gonna sell into it. That's just my
right.
personal preference. Like
That makes sense.
Like Nvidia says sell put right now. Earnings are this week. I'm not gonna be selling into Nvidia. I just don't
Right.
want the dramatic move.
But if you go back to like the October one where it says call sell put, how would you have handled that situation if you sold a call? If you see that so on the Nvidia. See,
What day are you looking around? Like here?
yeah,
I mean, depends on where my strike was. Like it might have actually worked. Like if I happened to sell a call that day at around 130, 135, it still would have maybe expired worthless. It's hard to say. If
but
it
like
gets close to the strike, like within $1 of it, I'm gonna look to either roll it out a week or stop out.
right.
And
So
that's part of the
like what call credit spread would you have done something like that?
yeah, I would have done a call.
You would have done like a 140 like a 142 and
Uh, let me see, because I think I might have actually taken an NVIDIA around then. I took an NVIDIA on, all right, the 8th of October. So right here, I got sell put. So I didn't take the sell call, but on
right,
the 8th, I did a sell put right here. I'm just looking at this line right here, and it's a little hard to see it. I sold to the 15th, and I sold a 112, 107. Okay. So I sold the 112 put, which was right like there,
right,
and it worked out. So I took in $62 off that in about a week. It was a 5 with and 0.14 delta. I closed it out really quick on that one. I closed it out near a 50% profit in a day because it was worth the profit for me. Like I could
right.
have waited longer and maybe got the full 62, but I was like, yeah, I'll take $29 in a day off it.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely.
see if it's better
You use
stuff.
that cell
That's just
call
how I
mostly.
did it.
You use the
But
cell
yeah,
put
there's gonna be
afterwards.
false signals. Like not every trade's gonna work. If you see the flip like this, I'm still gonna
Yeah,
wait it out. I'm mostly doing it based on these. Like if it touches, I'm setting an alert price $1 above the put credit spread strike or $1 below the call credit spread. So again, if I sold a 130 put, I'm setting an alert at 131. And I'm not gonna do anything until it touches 131.
right.
That's just me. This is a riskier way than I normally go. Usually I
This is
probably
ris
do that before
this is
that.
riskier or less risky?
This is riskier than my normal trades. If you've seen
Right,
any of my normal trades I do for the longer dated, month-long credit spreads.
right. You usually do like a month long with like a maybe a 0.15 to 0.2 delta.
Yeah, I almost 0.15 is usually the max. I don't go up to 0.2.
Right.
All right, Tom's asking, does the signal appear after the close of the day? Meaning at the open, you see a signal appear over yesterday's candle. I haven't even noticed that, honestly. I just look at each ticker symbol and see like if it says sell call, sell put, and then I'll possibly trade off it. I'm not no, I don't know if another member that already had it actually could answer that or not. Like if it just pops up in the middle of it. Because I'm usually on the 2 hour, 4 hour daily chart. So I don't even notice like if it pops up in that candle or not. Um, I don't know if anyone else in the chat knows the answer to that, if they've been scalping it on 3 minutes and whatnot. It won't make much of a difference in the end if we're going long time frames. Again, people are, and I definitely appreciate it, people are trying to scalp with this thing and see if you could buy like out of the money calls like in a 3 minute chart. And that's perfectly fine. Test it out. I'd like to hear it. But I just, one, don't have time for that stuff. And two, not really that interested in trading that way. Maybe in the summer when I have some free time.
So how do you use a 15 and 30-minute time frame?
Same way as the 2 hour, 4 hour.
Okay.
Friday, I had a little bit of a break when I was in my teacher conference. So I was looking at SPX. I knew it was down a lot already. And then obviously it said sell call. And I just happened to be free. I sold a call credit spread. It was around 0.15 delta or so. And then I just closed it out at around 50% profit in 14 minutes. So that's all I did. I could
Hmm.
have, I even said in the chat, "Oh, this is a bit of a risky trade. I'm just trying it out." And then the market just kept dropping and then I just closed it out. That obviously will happen sometimes. Like I don't have to worry about it rebounding or anything. But I'm not doing that too much. I just did that as a test run to see if it would work.
Well,
Remember,
like you said, you have to be able to watch it
you
closely.
got to be able to watch it. I'm having kids try to blow up the lab with all these random chemicals and fires. I can't be watching if, a 2 minute candle went up. That's just me. But again, I definitely appreciate people actually trying other stuff with it. So if you're already joined and you're already in the group, share your thoughts on that. I know Wojo is one. There's a few that are really trying like super short time frames.
Well, I'll be watching it
Yep.
because I'd like to try. I'd like to try it as well.
Joe Dunlow says, I see you're using the Bollinger Bands. I create an indicator to show multiple time frame sets to see the lower time frame bands move within the higher one. Well, that sounds interesting. I guess you could possibly add that on with it. The Bollinger Bands are kind of a little bit of a safe break to see if there's a false signal or not. So you might occasionally see the stock being above the upper Bollinger Band, and that's why you won't see the signal come up, just because there's a decent chance of a reversal at that point. I got about 5 more minutes in me. Any other questions you guys have?
Aren't you doing this call weekly, or is this just a special?
I don't know yet. I don't
Oh,
think
okay.
I could do this every week, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it all now.
Yeah, I don't either. That's my wife that she gets mad at me sometimes
Mm,
because I work so much.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I'll every week I'll at least show what I'm thinking of trading for Monday. I don't think I could do a Zoom every week though, but I typically do a Zoom call once a month. It won't necessarily be for the indicator. It might be for, looking at this strategy or that strategy, maybe looking at psychology of trade. Like it's all over the place, but I'll do at least one a month with the whole group of datatraders.com. Doesn't matter where you're actually joined or whatnot.
Do
Any
you do
other
you
questions?
use the Fibonacci
I
bands at all?
don't, I don't believe in Fibonacci, honestly. That's like a voodoo to me. I mean, most of the stuff that we're looking at could be a little bit of voodoo in there. It's like if you look at a chart long enough, it'll tell you exactly what you want it to say.
That's what
You
I
just
hear.
keep looking at it more. This whole 1 1 2 3 5, you keep adding stuff to before of Leonardo da Vinci and his golden whatever circle and ratios, and then suddenly it's a stock chart. You ever watch the movie Pi? It was like this really old black and white. Like the guy goes crazy. He's like a mathematician, and then he's like starting to drill in his head and stuff because he thinks he knows the pattern of the stock market. I don't know. It's a good movie, but it's a bit crazy. It's just
So,
PI.
Well, I like your style. Keep it simple.
well, the one problem I have with the fibs is it's very difficult. You have to pick the high and low that everyone else is using because it's very subjective of which high and which low you're using to get your fib lines right.
Yeah,
I I find that more of an art than a science.
I mean, a lot of this is art and science together. That's hard to say.
Now, if we wanted to sign up for this, like where do we sign up for this?
So I left the link like 80 different places. I'll leave it on the chat now. And
Send out the link again in like the Discord.
what was that?
send out the link again in the Discord?
Yeah, there's a link in the Discord. I just put the link on Zoom if you're watching right now. I think Russell was here earlier. He might have left. Not sure. Fibs are like Elliott Waves. Yeah, I looked at Elliott Waves for like 10 minutes and then I just like, this sounds like voodoo to me and I didn't bother. I don't know. I mean, it might work. I'm not gonna say it's not, but. Yeah, I left the link to sign up if you haven't yet. You're still thinking about it. Still have this offer until midnight. It's only a couple more hours. If I happen to wake up and you happen to get it at 2 or 3 in the morning, like tonight, I'm not gonna stop you. But we did make a midnight deadline, so
Where do I find the link on Zoom?
it's just on the chat. It's also on Discord if you look. So. All right, guys, I'm gonna head on out now. I'll send the recording out because I know some members weren't able to see it today. Definitely appreciate all of you guys with your good questions and thoughts, and I'll see you guys on the Discord. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you too, Lance.
No problem, Don. Have a good night, everyone.